Jam. We're all here. I am hosting tonight instead of Tim. I don't know what Tim is doing. Obviously, there's nothing is more important than comics, so he will be having a stern talking to later.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And but beyond that, we're just pretty much hanging out tonight, and we'll maybe discuss our favorite fantasy or sci-fi worlds. Thought that'd be kind of fun to talk about. And mostly we're just uh, shooting the breeze on comics and nerd stuff. I'm joined by Quentin, Jose, and Mackenzie, who I've meeting for the first time here. So
I'll become your favorite.
To become a favorite.
Whoa!
I don't know that's hard to say over Jose. I mean, yeah. I mean,
it'll be hard to unseat Jose from that position.
It will be.
I'm up for a challenge.
Quentin, you look so small on your screen.
I know. I'm far away tonight. Hey, everybody.
Well, you've always said the further away from me you can get, the better. Is this?
Yeah, I heard you were hosting trying to prove here? So I had to get back away from the screen.
That's true. Do you have more He-Man figures?
Yeah. I'll have
do you
to
have an
do
entire
a tour.
wall covered?
I've got a door, and beside the door, I'll show you in a little bit.
Yeah. Because I bought Man at Arms. That was the only one I liked. I like Trapjaw, but I haven't seen him, so I bought Man at Arms. That was my big He-Man. I thought that I'm not really the new face on the new He-Man doesn't look. He looks like he's thinking or lost. I don't get it.
There's two of them, right? There's the one from He-Man Revelations, and then there's another one from like another He-Man. It's more like a CGI series, and that one just trips me out because he looks like he's constantly smiling at me, and I don't know if I like my eternal barbarian to be happy.
Yeah. Well,
not
these
like
are the origins, and the first one they brought out had the real weird face.
That's he almost looked like he had like some sort of he looked like he was like Chinese or Japanese in the eyes. It was weird. It was a little different. Like there was a sort of Asian influence I thought was interesting. Yeah.
They got the weird face, but then whenever they brought this guy out, then they added the classic head that you can put on him.
Okay.
But he does resemble the old one, but he looks a little Asian to me. Look at his look at his eyes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind if he's
Chinatown with blonde hair,
Asian or not. Yeah, I don't mind. But it was just the way they painted him or whatever. So anyone else been into any nerd stuff we could talk about? Anybody been reading comics or whatever?
I just bought a life-size Darth Vader, if that counts for anything.
What?
Really? Seriously?
Everything.
Yeah.
Like, is it like a statue or something, or is it like is it a?
It's like a cosplay costume, like legit, but like I have mannequins, so like
that's right.
Have you told Tim this?
Oh, he's gonna flip.
I'm just gonna say that's points.
We had a good
conversation
about how we're both Star Wars geeks, but I don't think I told him about Darth Vader. I think he knows I have my Stormtrooper.
Oh.
So when did you make it at all, or did you just buy it complete?
No, I edited it a little bit because I didn't like the belt on it or anything, but I bought it from a guy.
That's what I do when I get stuff. These I keep in the package, but others I take them out and I customize them.
Well, I have a lot of I consider Revenge of the Sith my movie because that's the one that came out was prime when I was young, so that's the one I got to go
That's
see.
The third one, right?
Yeah, the third one.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity a couple times to buy a Darth Vader, and I was like, nah, I want the Revenge of the Sith one, and I got contacted about it, and I was like, that's a lot of money, but I have to do it. And I got new boots for it and certain things, but I'm in love with it.
Can you fit into it? Have you tried putting it on to see if it fits?
My mannequin is too short for it, so there is no way.
I couldn't fit because he's if it's made to scale, he's 6 foot something.
Yeah. The mannequin that I have is the tallest mannequin I have. It's 6'2" ish. And it's way too small for it.
Wow.
Way too small.
I wonder if you could even try to find somebody to cosplay that at events or whatever. If you can have him walking one of your Velociraptors, I mean that would be a win.
Yes.
Well, I did an event last week with the Easter Bunny, and I was like, man, I should have got someone to be Darth Vader. My mom's like, that's not really Easter, and I was like, it is for me.
Yeah, it is. I don't think the kids are gonna care. I don't think they're gonna be like, just put bunnies on Darth Vader. Hope you're fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I saw a picture of like you post a picture on Facebook of like a little, I think it was a girl or boy, like the Velociraptor and the Easter Bunny. And I'm like, oh, I never had Easters like that.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. I mean, people go, oh, yeah, it's not something you see every day. I do. So that's my life.
You never mean it told the kids that the Velociraptor ate all the eggs, right?
I don't think so, but like, it's a good thing to keep for later.
It is. You smear chocolate around the Velociraptor's teeth, like a half-eaten chocolate.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember when they first started doing the new Star Wars sequel, they had my boss I worked with asked me to draw a poster of like Rey and everybody, but we are working on very rare concept art. Like they were just starting to do sneak peeks, and they had a picture of Rey's staff, and this was when the first movie was coming out, and we were all thinking she was going to be the Jedi.
Yeah,
and she was, but we thought, oh well, the end of her staff looks like a Jedi handle, like a hilt.
Yeah.
Well, that must be what that is. And then the movies didn't do that. And it's like, oh, I got that wrong. In the very last movie, they actually show her holding the hilt with the lightsaber. I'm like,
yeah,
I got it right.
I got it right.
Yeah. I did try to draw Captain Phasma, but it must have been a preliminary sketch because the helmet is not like the one in the movie. But that's okay. Everything else is pretty. But I was surprised that I called that. I just thought, oh, that I messed up. But at the end of the movie, I'm like, oh, I redeemed myself. Yeah. So yeah, I would sit there and draw.
He walks around work now. I was like, I am the Oracle.
I know all. Yeah, I think I watched the as far as new Star Wars, I watched The Mandalorian, and then I never watched Book of Boba Fett. Everyone tells me don't bother.
I'm like one of those ones that I'm like George Lucas or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian. I mean,
Mandalorian was okay. Boba Fett was just Mandalorian Part 3. That's what disappointed me.
I haven't even seen it
I
yet.
can't agree with that.
Have you seen it, Jose?
The beginning was
the
good,
best
but,
parts.
like,
The best parts of Book of Boba Fett are the flashbacks with Tusken Raiders.
I agree.
Like, those were the best, like, story aspect. Like, like watching that and having them explain how he got to where he was through that. That honestly, then it's just like, okay, now it's filler, present day. Can we please go back to the past so I can see what happened? Because that's the best part.
That was the best part. Yeah, I didn't, because I know Obi-Wan's supposed to. I watched 2 episodes of Moon Knight, and then that didn't connect with me. Most people know in here, a lot of the Disney Marvel stuff is either hit or miss with me. But I was hoping they would kind of dive more horror. And then the first episode, he's driving a cupcake truck, and I'm like, okay, so they're not doing that. Okay. Shoot.
So
okay, it kind of
at least watch episode 3. Like I think episode 3.
Episode
like,
2 was it good?
Hinting. I thought episode 3 was pretty cool because then it starts bringing in like the Egyptian gods and stuff like that, like discussions about.
I loved his costume, like the main costume. I loved the idea of the mummy wrap and everything. I was
hoping to see, like, before I ever saw any of the promo pictures, I was hoping to see was it Mr. Knight? I wanted to see that costume because I actually like that one with just the white mask and the suit. Like I thought that was so freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Wish granted.
I know. But like I hadn't seen any of the promo. Like as soon as I found out Moon, I was like, man, which one are they gonna do? Because there's so many different costumes he has. Yeah. And like that one is my favorite just because I think that one's cool.
Somebody, one of my friend asked me, didn't know anything about Moon Knight. She likes the Marvel movies. She's like, what's his superpowers? I'm like, he throws little moon razor blade things at people.
Marvel Batman.
He is Marvel Batman. Apparently people get mad if you say that, but he is. I mean,
they really do.
Blades, and he's got the cape, and he's jumping on rooftops, and I mean, I'm trying to think of what his sidekick would be. Like, you have a Robin, what would be his like some Egyptian
Nightbird.
Yeah,
breaking up a little.
Of course I am.
Yeah, and Nightbird. I was just thinking of like, I always remember in Thundercats, Mumra had the dog, Mumma. I think that was what it was called.
Mumra? Yeah.
Yeah, a little dog with him.
That was a thing?
Yeah. I think it was called Mummut. or something. Yeah, I mean,
Mummut.
yeah, it was. Uh, Mumra's a dog. Yeah, Mumra had a dog. Yes, Mama. That's what it was called. Yeah, and he would carry the little dog around like like an old man or old lady carries a little dog around. It was, and I didn't know why the dog would just be like comedic relief, but I do remember he had a little dog buddy. I don't know, maybe the chicken moon had a little
What
dog
is it
buddy or
with
something.
villains and pets?
Like Dr. Claw.
Yeah, he had the cat. I can't remember the cat's name. Inspector Gadget. He had the. I can't remember that
I
cat's
forgot
name.
about that.
And because he would sit there and pet the cat, and then the cat would like try to bite his hand or something or do something. Yeah, because you never saw Dr. Claw, but you saw his cat.
Yeah, Dr. Evil had Mr. Bigglesworth.
Mr. Bigglesworth.
Yeah. And let's see, who else? What other one had a? I know there was another because I had it on the tip of my tongue. I don't remember.
Oh, that's right. I can show. I'm still remembering. I can show that. Roy Oship says, "Hello, Silverland fam, looking great." Yeah, that's mostly directed at Quentin, obviously.
Yeah, for
Clearly.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's what I would assume. It's the He-Man figures. I mean,
That's what it is.
it is. So
It's the
yeah.
He-Mans.
So we can talk about our obviously favorite fantasy or sci-fi worlds. One is Star Wars. I like those ones. I was always partial. My favorite fantasy world is always the world of the never-ending story.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, because I always really like surreal fantasy that borderlines on like surreal, almost like
Mhm.
high imagination. Not like Lord of the Rings, but there was a scene because there's a montage scene in that movie where he's riding across the land, and there's one of the lands that they did where like all these purple crystals are growing out of the ground. And I just thought, and it was like waterfalls. I'm like, that's cool. That's fantasy to me. If you're gonna go straight,
Yeah.
sort of magical, surreal fantasy. That was always my favorite one, and it made sense considering the world was supposed to be made of human imagination. You could do anything
Mhm.
and not have to explain any sort of, well, how is this done in real life or whatever, because it's just all complete build of imagination. So that was always my favorite fantasy world.
Mhm.
The sci-fi world I have to think about. I don't know.
I'm going to put a suggestion in that Tim's would be Destiny, the world of Destiny,
Destiny's, yeah.
and Halo.
Halo. Have you, speaking of Halo, have you guys watched the Halo series?
No, that's why I'm glad Tim's not on, because I haven't watched it yet, and he would get mad at me. We haven't been able to discuss it yet.
Did he seem upset or into it at all? Because
I
I know
don't
a lot
know.
of fans do not like. I'm not a huge Halo fan, so I could take it or leave it. It didn't matter to me that his helmet was off. The only time that ever matters to me is in Judge Dredd, because that joke has been running for like
Right.
20, 30 years. He never takes his helmet off. And it's a joke. I mean, there's actually a scene of him actually in the showers with his helmet on. So it's
I
like a
haven't,
running joke in the comic.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but like I've played all the games, and I know was at the end of Guardians they had a moment where he was getting into the rig to pull his armor off, and
You
then
see
like
the back of his head.
you see like the helmet start to come off, and then it fades to black. You're like, yeah, right? But
is it like a Darth Vader moment? Like you see
Kinda, yeah. They never. I mean, they eventually say his name is John.
Uh-huh.
Which
Well, yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I'd always kind of like, you know him as Master Chief throughout all the games. They eventually, his name's John, and I'm like, John?
Well, so
Like,
those of
Name's
us
John.
like Tim,
Yeah.
Tim and I, we've actually read the novels, and they mentioned
Yeah.
his names like early on. Like we had already known his name before I think before I ended up playing like Halo 3. You know what I mean? I had already known his name, but like I always thought it was cool. But like the idea that like they should kind of showed his face on the first episode, I thought that was kind of lame.
Yeah, that's what I
They should have
said.
drug it out a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I understand how, I mean, I can't, and it would be very hard to emote for an entire series through a helmet. I mean, the guy played Darth Vader. He did a decent job, but most of the time, the only time Darth Vader was ever sympathetic was when he talked to Luke on the bridge in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Other than that, he was just angry all the time. It's not hard to emote anger through a helmet, but if you're trying to emote sadness or something, that would be hard to do. From an
Another
acting
thing though
standpoint.
is the actors, they have they like get real anal about having their faces covered. Even the guy who played the Mandalorian, what's his name?
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
One of his he supposedly more and more wanted to take his mask off, and they had to go round and round with him because he wanted, he was kind of fighting to get more unmasked time, and they didn't want him to take his mask off.
Yeah,
so
I
don't
think they
know.
took his mask off too early.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't take it up to like episode 4 or 5, or was it?
It was like 5.
No, it was
but, like,
yeah. It was
even
like
so, I don't think it was needed.
No.
Nope.
He didn't.
I like the mystery.
Yeah.
I
And
like
also-
the principle though. I like the principle with the was it IG-88 being
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm not a human. No, I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not man.
I liked
Like,
it,
I like
but, like,
that.
again, I don't think it was needed. But I liked it.
Right.
I liked how they did it. But
I
Right? I like how they justified it.
Well, you always have an idea of who this person is underneath, because I didn't know the actor at the time, and they take it off, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a few weeks
Yeah.
ago when we were talking about Halo. If once you start down that road of not showing the face, then the face that they have that you see becomes their face, and when they do reveal the face, it kind of ruins it because you have to reevaluate now how you think of the character.
You mean you saying Darth Vader?
I'm just talking about. No, I think they did that one good because they waited for the last moments of the last movie to show you what he, show you just how jacked up this guy was.
Right.
And it didn't disappoint because he was all battle damaged, and of course, I mean, it was a little bit of when I first saw it, it was a little bit of oh man, he's an old guy. But I was little when I saw it, So,
what you're thinking, because I kept thinking when at the end of Revenge, and maybe you guys can help. But so, how from the end of the Sith to Return of the Jedi, did that seriously supposed to take place? I guess he would be older. That's like 40 years.
Yeah,
he was only
old.
like 45.
45 or something.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Luke was born at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and he was what was supposed to be like in his early 20s, mid 20s at the
He
end
was
of Return
supposed
of
to
the
be
Jedi.
22.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say. Because didn't was it what's his name? His uncle told me he had to wait like a year or two before he took off because he wanted him to still work because he was still a kid.
Yeah.
So he was like 19 in A New Hope, and then like he was the same age as his father, like 22, 23 by the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they were supposed to be like they were supposed to shadow them. Like Anakin made all the wrong choices, and Luke started to make all the right ones.
Right. Or
them.
even if he did make the wrong choice by going to Bespin City, it worked out somehow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
There's something.
Luke didn't grow up as a slave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I need to have you have this conversation with Darth Vader behind me, and I'm in the wrong room.
Come on in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what was see the
I kind of felt like I think personally I like the fact that like was it Watchmen? Watchmen had Rorschach, and I actually thought that was a good reveal when he would pull his mask off, like, especially when he was in the prison and whatnot, and they took his mask off and whatnot, and all of a sudden you see this short little, like, was it Jackie Earl Haley friggin' like I just thought that. I mean, personally I thought he was cool. Yeah.
Did he ever take his mask off in the comic? I thought he did.
Yeah.
He did.
So in the comic, he didn't take his mask off at all, right? Until he went to prison. And then they took it. And then he was like just like, to me, I thought the prison scene in the movie played really well against the prison scene in the comic, because even then he was like, you guys are all in here with me. It's like,
right. Which he always seems so like unassuming. Like, this guy's like people really scared of this guy, and I'm like, this guy, he just walks around with his hands in his pockets the whole time. Suspicious why he has his hands in his pockets the whole time. But I don't know. I mean, it was kind of, I never could understand if Rorschach was supposed to be like a fighter or more of a detective. He seemed more like a straight up detective to me than a fighter. But then again, it's been a long time. He was literally psychotic. Yeah, I did like. Did you guys like the Watchmen movie? I know a lot of people who read Watchmen did not like the movie and vice versa. I actually thought the movie was better than. I thought the ending they changed in the book, I thought made more sense than the book. Because I read the book and I actually honestly was confused about what happened at the end. I see like a big weird leg in a city, and I had no idea what had happened.
What
I
was
was
it?
like,
They set off a bomb, and then at the center of that bomb, like Osmodeus, like if anybody hasn't read it, and I'm giving you spoilers, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna stop. But Osmodeus exploded this bomb that like created this huge crater, and in the crater was a like a genetic alien, right? And it was just like genetic material that like showed like tentacles and crap like that popping up, like saying that this is what's going to bring the world together because they're bonding against this particular attack that happened.
Right. Now I read, now anybody out there, I read that it was supposed to be now what I actually heard was that if I remember right, he teleported the alien in. It wasn't a bomb in the comic.
That's what it was. You're right. My bad.
And when the alien died, it was like the psychic backlash from the alien killed the people in the city, or so something like that. Because he learned how to do teleportation from Dr. Manhattan. Like he did something with Dr. Manhattan, learned how to do it, and then he teleported the alien. But the only problem with that is like, well, yeah, you unite the world against this common threat, but after a year or so, when the threat's not attacking anymore, the world goes back to normal. So even in the comic, I always like, well, yeah, that's a short stopgap. I mean, they're sitting around with their guns for years waiting for the aliens. I mean, after so many months, like, well, I guess they're not coming. And so, but when you have in that movie, like Dr. Manhattan is like this like godlike character always watching you, that's much more effective. Like, oh, nobody misbehaved because he's always watching you. It made much more sense in the context of the story. It was almost one of those things that I'm sure Alan Moore would disagree with me, but I'm almost like, dude, he just kind of took your ending and fixed it, because I never got I know it's classic CPO, but I never got the alien ending. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So, other than that,
I just never was really big into it. I don't know why. I guess at the time when it came out, I was more classic comics, when other people were moving to more adult stuff. I just really like the classic stuff, and then the movie was just I could see how it would have been just amazing for a fan of that, because it was a well put together movie.
It was verbatim the movie, even which everybody I talked to is not a comic fan. You seen Watchmen? What do you mean the movie with the blue wang? That's all they remember. That's like it. I'm like, okay, yeah, that movie. Thank you. Okay, well, that conversation's done because they just don't remember anything else. I still remember one guy in the theater when I saw 300. They showed a picture of like one of the main guys was like, it was a sexy scene, and they showed his butt, like the main guy's butt, and it was naked. One guy's like, oh, why are we looking at butts or whatever? Why are we looking at? I'm just like, oh yeah, because everyone else naked is fine, but the man. And I was like, but dude, I don't know. It seemed weird because the guy was sitting next to me, and I was just like, it's okay. Do you need a timeout? Do you want to go sit in the hallway? And
I mean, it's okay for like one of the characters in there to like friggin' sodomize Leonardo's wife, but whatever.
Yeah, but
God forbid should we see Leonidas's ass. I mean, butt. Sorry.
Yeah. It's just like, and I'm just sitting there going like, the rest of the movie they're pretty much naked anyways with the little. And those guys had to get ripped. I mean, I remember them, I think, talking, like, I think they had some makeup accentuated, but, I mean, those guys must train all the time. I had no idea that Fassbender was in that. I mean, because I saw it years ago, and then somebody said, oh, yeah, the guy who played Magneto, the new young Magneto was in 300. I'm like, that was him? I went back, I'm like, oh, my God, that's Magneto.
He had, like, long straight hair.
Yeah. There were a few other characters in that movie that were, like, in the background. I think the guy who played Faramir in Lord of the Rings was in it. He got hurt. He was the one telling the story at the end. Not Boromir, but
he was in it.
He was in it.
Was it the younger brother?
Yeah. So there's lots of weird, like, there's just like that's a movie we kind of looked at like, oh, I know that character from that movie, and but they're little bit roles, but they're kind of everywhere in that movie. It's kind of a trip. So I actually tried to read the sequel comic. Check that from the library. He did Xerxes, and then he did another one, and it was not good. It was not good.
It was a hard read.
Yeah, it was not. I think 300 stands on its own, but even because they were going to make a sequel based on the comic, the sequel movie was okay for what it was.
Yeah.
But it really was just that one movie. But I read that finally he released it like 2 years later after the second movie was released. I read the book and I'm like, Frank, I don't know. Sometimes Frank Miller breaks my heart. I love a lot of his stuff, but there's some stuff I'm just reading. I'm like, dude, it's not working anymore. I don't know. His style works like Sin City works great, but then he made Batman like Sin City, like Batman and Robin like Sin City, and like, yeah, that's not working. Oh yeah, Jose's mic is buzzing. Yeah, Jeff Potts says that. Yeah, so I don't know. See if you can fix. Oh, he's going to go out the air. But that's okay. We don't need Jose around here, anyways.
Forget Jose.
Am I the favorite now?
I know.
Yeah.
Default. Apparently, we've killed Jose, so you're my favorite now by default.
You've ranked up.
Ranked up. So, are you actually working on Nightfall right now, Quentin?
Nightrise, yes. I am doing a color test. I suppose I can share my
God, we
screen.
changed that name so many times. I still just call it Justice. So you got it closer than me.
I just changed the file names on it. So yeah, it went from. Oh, he's back.
Not cool. Not cool. I heard that.
All right. Well, okay.
It must just be a night for mics. I told you, I broke mine right before this. Yours isn't working. It's just that.
No,
kind
for some. So the other headset I have, the one I usually wear like to listen to music and stuff like that, it won't. At the moment I bought it, it doesn't even work with Discord. Like I can't even get Discord to work.
Really?
Either I can hear everybody or I can't hear anything, and you can't hear me at all. Like there's neither will it ever align.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so in the Night Ride story, now just out of curiosity, Quentin, when you work digitally, do you ink your own stuff? I mean, you go straight to inks. No one's inking this, right?
Oh, let me just go ahead. Any comic creators that are watching this, boom! What? He's coloring it, and he's not even done with the inks. What? Yeah, pull your hair out.
So
it's all a color test. It's a color
let me see your pencil line, like, because I do such a rough sketch, and then I basically just start using the G pen and clip art to just ink it. I don't even do like the pencils. Yeah, that's what I do. The pencils are literally that rough, and then I'll literally just take the G line and I'll kind of do it a little rougher that way, and then just ink straight. So you're inking this too? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm coloring it yet. I'm just doing a color test at the moment, but this was the finalized pencils, and mine are super rough because I'm doing it and I know where the lines are going to go. So I just skipped the whole step of doing the finer pencils, except for certain things like the dog's face.
I tried
you could have gave people heart attacks.
Yeah. I tried to do pencils in that, but I don't like I like the G pen line, but the G pen is, I guess I could do it in gray or something, but I tried to do pencils and I'm just like, no, I'll just do it in regular paper.
So I actually had to download a digital pencil brush for Clip Studio that gave you the same like textured feel to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that way I can like turn my pen to the side and still get like a broad pencil stroke.
Okay,
that's
so
my favorite.
You're the writer of this, Mackenzie, right?
Yeah, sorry, I'm having a love affair right now.
Well, I don't see Darth Vader at all.
Oh, you didn't know Quentin could draw? Yeah, we didn't know that either.
I'm like amazed every single time how like he gets exactly what was in my head. Like,
well, good. That's good to hear.
It's always so crazy to me.
Well, this is a color test to see how long it would take me if I ink and color and everything, because there's a lot of effects that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking a little bit about it last week with the purple glows and all that stuff. And just to convey that and write notes to somebody like the colorist to do these things, I'm going to have to write them a book, and they're really, I just don't know if that's fair, because
I will say this, and I'll say this, and I'm sure Roland may be listening. I love you, Roland, but he won't let me ink or color my stuff.
Yeah, I probably won't get away with this either, but we'll see.
And I thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, that's why I didn't want to ink, because like I said, I I will draw very roughly, and then I just go straight into the G pen because that's how I put it on the stability, and then I just draw it in. So I was like, well, if I do that, then there's not really any point. No, I'll just draw the pencils. Yeah, because I wanted Jose to be able to ink stuff. Yeah.
I want Jose to be able to ink stuff too.
So how many have you? I think you've written other stories too, Mackenzie. It's not your first.
This one's my first.
First, okay. So
first comic story.
Yeah,
first
so you've done other stories.
Yeah, I've done other stories, but this is my first comic.
Is this set in a world? If we're going back to the fantasy sci-fi world, is it set in a world that you've done before? Or is this totally new for the book?
No, this is totally new.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you written up any laws or anything? I know some people when they write fantasy worlds, they write like a Bible somewhat.
It's kind of
I've heard of this.
We kind of, and I think everyone that does creates, you try to get the general gist of things.
Yeah.
You think of things, but there's definitely some things that kind of changed as you started putting a pen to paper and you started working out the details, and when you started to break down the character development or just plot points. Even there were some things like you wouldn't even think as small that like I gave to Quentin, and Quentin would throw back to me and be like, well, what if we did it this way? And it's kind of like, well, I don't think that would work storyline wise, but that's a great idea to do it, that we can make it go this way. And, it's just been a really fun process to like build this world. And, we haven't, or I think I tried to get the general gist, as other creators, you kind of, you create what you take in. So you go, oh, I like a bit of this world and I like a bit of that world. So I think I had a good placing when I went into this. And then it was like, okay, this is kind of my inspiration, but how do I make this mine? So for this, I feel like I was doing a lot of because Roland recruited me when I was sick, and while I was sick I was playing a lot of video games, and I like a lot of fantasy type like Skyrim or anything that's set in that sort of
boy. Man, you are such among friends here.
I tried. I'm losing points, man. I'm losing points.
I tried to get in the Skyrim. I even played Skyrim in VR, which was fun. But there's something about Skyrim where I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I tried.
Oh my god! I don't know what it is about Skyrim that like
people love it.
I love it. Like I could get like I'm one of those people now. I'll go weeks without playing a video game, but I'm like the person that once I start, I'll play it for a month. So like I have to watch with Skyrim because like I'll like want to play it until like 4:00 in the morning and go, oh my god, I need to sleep, and I just get so into Skyrim.
Have you played it in virtual reality?
Well, like
if you ever played in VR, it's
bought
crazy.
the VR. I bought the VR, but like I haven't gone past the Darth Vader VR because like I'm so in love with being in the same room with Darth Vader that I haven't played any of my other games that I bought for it.
I can't even fault you for that. That's amazing.
Skyrim is the one that I actually and like I said, I had fun with it. I think the thing is and this is my video game OCD.
Yeah.
And why Skyrim sometimes doesn't work for me. I go into Skyrim like I've been playing games for years. Like, you got to collect all the things and do all the things. And then my friend finally said, no, Skyrim is just do whatever you want. You don't have to collect or do any of the things.
Yeah.
You can play it as you see fit. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you can go around killing townspeople as long as they're not crucial to the story.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see that thing on Facebook? And I don't remember what's in the background, but it was like this huge going on in the back of the scene and in the ocean, and then it was like just a person like with an umbrella like doing some shit like in the water in the front, and they're ignoring it, and it was like the main quest and then me doing side quests. Like I just like get so caught up in the side quests. I'm like, of course I'll go collect flowers, and of course I'll go kill the chickens.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so whipped by that game.
Well,
I can't get over the fact that I played it and spent 9 months not figuring out why I kept taking damage every time the sun came up.
Oh, yeah,
I did that in Oblivion. I got changed to a vampire. This is what the problem with not reading when you're playing video games.
Right.
when a screen pops up, don't just hit X and get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to read it.
Yeah.
The games I get lost in, that I had to, I was, I'm big. I like the Dark Souls games, but I like Neo, and I bought Neo 2 when it came out, and I actually put off playing that for like almost, I think, a year and a half, 2 years, because I'm like, how long is it? Like 200 hours or 100 hours? Like, oh my god. I don't have time for that. And so I finally, of course, threw it in, and I was lost in that game for like months on end, and finally finished it. And I was surprised because everyone kept preparing me for the last guy. Like, oh, the last guy is the hardest, and like all these strategies and stuff. And I beat him on my first try. I kind of felt kind of let down. I was like,
yeah, that's a letdown.
I was like, okay, I had a harder time with the one before him. He was giving me trouble. But yeah, Dark Souls, if you guys, I mean, besides, have you guys ever played Dark Souls games? Because they're basically like
Yes,
Skyrim on
I'm
crack.
a Dark Souls guy. Yeah, I love it.
If you ever get a chance, like Elden Ring or whatever, if you ever make it, even though they're hard games, he does a really good job of building in like that ancient lore into his games. That is,
that's what I love.
Fun. Yeah, he's like the master, the guy who makes those games, like a master at it.
I can't remember his first name, but Miyazaki.
Miyazaki, yeah. And because a lot of times there was a story to the Dark Souls games, but you can only really figure out the story by reading the
you got it through the pickups throughout the game. All these subplots that were in the game is from stuff that you pick up in the game. Like it's so funny because you don't really know what the story is completely. But it has all of its subplots and all of its characters in all the stuff you pick up.
Yeah. I think that the story, it's funny. I actually started watching a video trying to explain it. I think I got like a third of the way through it. I'm like, nah, there's a lot going on. I'm like, I'll just kill stuff. I like the Dark Souls games because it was just, they remind me of like when I was, we used to play D&D and stuff. The idea of going into a dungeon and feeling that sort of dread and fear of going into it. And I think Dark Souls really nails that idea of like, it's you and a sword and a world that is out to kill you with everything it has. And so you do have that sort of fear and trepidation of going into, you start to pick up the tricks. I mean, they're like, there's another poisonous swamp in a Dark Souls game. I'm like, no way, really? And he kind of does his own tricks. But I played Elden Ring and I liked it, except I played at my friend's house. I'm like, I'll get around to it. I like Dark Souls. He needs to, they say it's a little different, but yeah. If you like horror, I mean, Bloodborne is another one he did that's amazing. But I was just saying, for world building, if you like Skyrim, even if it's just to read about it, he does a lot of lore in his stuff that's really well done. But I did Skyrim VR was the way I played it, and then I can't remember why. Like, I remember picking up spoons and forks. Like, why do I have these? Like why do I? And then of course I see videos of people who steal everything and fill their house up.
Oh my god, I have so many houses and I've married with children I've adopted, and like Omar is my husband. Like, I could tell you everything right now. Like, I got so into it. I'm telling, and I think it's because like I haven't met one single person that has done the same exact storyline that like I have.
Yeah.
Or, like
it's
they're
totally
all
different.
It's all different, and I don't know, I love that. Like, you get your own personal experience out of it. But I will tell you, if they come out with VR for like Red Dead Redemption, you people will not see me for like a full year.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
that would
I'm
be
gonna go be a
awesome.
cowboy.
Yeah. Red Dead. I played the first one. I never did play the second. Is the second
You're
one worth
joking.
it? I never
Second
played
one
the
is
second one.
great, dude.
That one's
Second
amazing.
one is so good.
All right, because I played the first one and I liked it, but they said it was so, again. I have.
This is like one of my prized possessions because I got to meet them both, and they both signed this for me, and I'm
that's
like,
super cool.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Because Red Dead Online, I know the second one is like really, it's still pretty like live, like Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
I think they just announced they're making a new Grand Theft Auto because they've been milking 5 for 6 years now, or something like that.
Yeah.
Which they don't really need to make
listen, when the crackheads keep playing, why make new ones?
Yeah, why change it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally understand. The only thing is Rockstar's usually good at graphics, so eventually I can see them going like, well, we need to make it look prettier because they've always been.
Well, I even heard they were thinking about like remastering like some older games, so they didn't even have to like make a new game. Like, they were going to go back and like remaster Red Dead Redemption, the first one, and it was like, I'd buy it. I'm the idiot that would buy it.
Right? Like I already own both of them. I would own a revised version of the first one.
You got me.
I know,
Right?
pretty much. Did you ever play
Like,
Horizon
give
Zero
me
Dawn?
a game where I can. I'm just saying, a game where I can like freaking dead shot people. Like that's fantastic. Like that, and like back in the day, like for like Xbox, was it before the first Xbox? They had was it Max Payne? Like you could do the same thing. You could stop. You could slow down time in that game. And
you know they're
I would
redoing that, right?
every time I would slow down time, jump down the stairs, and shoot people.
You know they're redoing that game,
without fail. I never walked down a flight of stairs.
Yeah,
and
they're redoing that game.
That's going to be great.
They're making the first one again. I'd be curious to know who the actor is. Did you ever play a game called Stranglehold then?
No.
Okay. So if you like Max Payne, Stranglehold is literally John Woo wrote it. And the whole game mimics John Woo movies, where you're jumping through the air, two-fisted shooting. You can actually slide across like countertop shooting guns.
That sounds familiar.
It's not super long, but it's super fun because you just constantly like jumping, and you can like jump backwards. You can actually like slide across like shooting guns. It's like they took the John Woo movie and like stuck it in the game.
Ooh, I have played that,
and it's super fun. Yeah. They did that with another game called Wet for PlayStation.
You can spin
3.
the camera in that one. In Stranglehold, you can spin the camera, like not just yourself or not just your vision, but you can like spin the camera around yourself, around your tune.
There's another game called Wet.
Tune. That's that WoW talk.
Yeah,
that is that WoW.
Get out of here, sir.
It was like this grindhouse type of game. You played this woman, and you could do all the same sort of slow motion. But hers was really cool because in the game Wet, you could actually run across walls and flip off the wall and like shoot guns. Like you can flip on. Like she was an acrobatic. It's a PlayStation 3 game. You got to get it cheap. But if you even look it up, I mean, it's like a Quentin Tarantino type movie.
Yeah, I think I remember that game.
I have a whole
the Matrix game used to be able to do that. You used to be able to like jump off the walls and stuff.
Which one?
The Matrix game.
Yeah. They did. Yeah, I remember doing that. I have a whole box or a drawer full of PlayStation 3 games. That's probably the most games that any PlayStation system is the third one, because they make these little short 10-hour games, but there's a lot of like really people would experiment so much more in that realm than the ones today. And so I would get all these little 10-hour. I remember one called Dark Sector that was one of the launch titles. And I remember you had this glaive, this throwing star, and you could throw the star and then use the controller because motion sensitive. You can use the controller to like guide the star to cut up heads and stuff.
Nice.
I had more fun trying to do bank shots. I think my favorite one is I threw the star and this guy dodged it, and then he jumped up and started shooting me. But the star on its way back to me like came back and cut his head off, and I'm like, score! And so, like I would think of bank shots, but that's me in a video game. If you have one stupid gimmick and I like that gimmick, I don't care about the rest of the game. I'll just spend hours playing with that gimmick and doing stuff.
I feel like that was me when like the Wii was really popular and they did like Star Wars Force Unleashed on Wii, and I'm still so upset that they never finished that series. But like you just wielded that thing like a lightsaber. I was like there the whole time. I think I broke a couple things in the living room doing that, but like
it was I bought the Rogue Squadron game and haven't played it. That's also in VR. The one where you're like the space battles.
Yeah, I have that one too, but I'll be honest with you. I get such a I think it's because I don't know how to fly that darn X-Wing. Oh my god, I give myself so sick. Like I get motion sickness in that one because I'm like, okay, where am I going?
Oh yeah, VR is even that. I had one friend. I told him, "Be careful about motion sickness."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh no, I don't get motion sick." And I think he played some VR game, and it was you could walk in it. He took like 2 steps and took off the helmet. He's like, "Okay, that's all yours." Like he's like, "It just hit me." I'm like, "Yeah, it hit you like a wave of nausea. It's a weird feeling, you know."
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, somebody else said The Expanse. I've yet to see The Expanse. Everyone tells me it's
Love it.
Okay, I will say the best fantasy on Dark. See, I like Neverending Story. Dark Crystal's very well up there. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, best sci-fi novel. I don't think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I
The
never
Dark
heard of that one.
Crystal I totally love. The Expanse I think is supposed to be more realistic, if I'm not mistaken. It's more because I know it's like I tried to watch it, and I didn't get through the first episode, and everyone says you got to get first like through the first two, and then it gets really good. But I maybe I'll go back and do that. I know they finished it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
they finished it, but the novels go into so much more detail
that's what
and
I've
take it
heard.
farther. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I loved it from start to finish, and a good thing about it was it was different every season. I love the way they adapted it.
You know, strange enough, I had to probably say my favorite sci-fi world. I don't know if technically it'd be a world. What would be the original Robotech? Always really liked that. Of course, now people watch it and they would be like, "That's cheese." I got my nephew to watch it, but the storyline in the original Robotech, the American version, which I kind of mimicked a little bit of the Macross version in Japan, but it was just a cool concept because it's like they have this, you know. And I'm not going to spoil anything because if you haven't seen Robotech and know about it, then that's on you. It's been out since the mid '80s.
I was gonna
And
say it's been out for decades.
yeah, so that's on you. But it was just like this alien spaceship crash lands on Earth, and it starts to unify the nations. The first part of the show is them researching and building and like researching the ship, which is the size of a city. It's huge. And so as they're researching the alien ship or whatever, they build this city called Macross City around it. And because I think the name of the ship is a Macross, so it's called the
Macross,
SDF-1, Super Dimensional Fortress. And they knew, and the thing that was cool is that they gave the best reasoning why would a ship transform into a robot? Why would you do that? And on the ship, they discovered that the race of the people that were connected to the ship were 60-foot tall aliens. And we were little microscopic beings to them. So in order to be able to fight these guys one-on-one, we actually transformed our jets into robots to be able to fight them. And that was the coolest thing in that world because you would have like these gunfights in the show that were happening around skyscrapers. Like you see these Veritechs, these mechs like hiding behind skyscrapers as cover. And so just to take that scale of like these military people using skyscrapers and stuff as like cover and stuff, which it was such a cool concept. I mean, everything about that show, I was just like, oh man.
This sounds like a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, if you've never seen the original Robotech
No.
series, yeah, because they end up the show starts out with the Centrati of the aliens coming back to get the ship, and the humans are trying to escape, and they teleport.
They don't explain anything. Like they don't explain anything for like was it the third episode or something like that? Like
yes, you don't know really what's going on.
All of a sudden, you have this ship, and as far as I remember, it's like a cruise or was it a carrier? You know what I mean? Like an actual ship, and friggin' then all of a sudden stuff starts transforming. And you're like, wait a minute, what just happened?
Are they like Transformers?
Yeah, they built so they're like military, and they built like basically our basic military jets, but they made them be able to transform into two variations. One is they look like a chicken. They do like half jet, half legs.
Was it like the battle turret mode or something like that?
Yeah, and then they have a full one. But the thing is because so they can fight these Centrati hand because there would be just as tall as a robot. They're like 60
now this is starting to sound like Power Rangers.
Well, it came out. Oh, I think Power Rangers. The thing that was so cool is they ended up. They're trying to escape with this huge ship, this alien ship, and they activate this warp drive to try to escape. They're trying to get it out of the city, so they're trying to take the Centrati away from the city. And they don't know how to use this warp drive. They don't. All of this is relatively new to them. They're still researching this, and so when they activate it, the ship gets teleported out to Pluto with half of the city with it. Like you see them out there with half of the city teleported out. They eventually rescue a ton of people. A lot of people die, but they rescue a ton of people and build the city inside the ship. And then the ship has to try to make its way back from Pluto to Earth. And the whole time it's trying to make its way back to Earth, the Centrati, which is like 1 million ships in its fleet, are trying to get this ship back. This little humans and this little ship are just fending them off the whole time. It is such a cool series. And they find, because I mean, it's like this do or die situation these humans are in. They try to just save themselves because Centrati want to kill them. And Centrati are bred for war. They're an alien race bred for war. And the humans, they do it. They end up, but yeah, the whole idea and like, I don't know. Robotech, that's probably my favorite fantasy world because, again, I was like, why would you transform a robot? And then when they said that, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And they would, I remember like, Well, yeah, because there were some really cool scenes. People would paint scenes like after the initial war at the Centrati, they would have the Centrati on Earth, and there'd be one with like this guy standing atop this huge skull from a 60-foot giant that was left over from the war. So you have remnants of like these soldiers and corpses, but they're giants on Earth or whatever. There's a lot more to the story. I mean, the thing went for a while, but it was such a cool concept.
The first episode, like I think I saw like the first 4 or so episodes.
The first macro,
the first episode was just such a hot mess right at the beginning, like in a good way. Like all of a sudden, like you're leaped right into like this crazy chaos. It was so good.
Yeah, and it just takes you and then just like takes you from there. It keeps going. But yeah, I think you can actually watch it on either Amazon Prime or Netflix. You can stream Robotech. It's old.
I don't know.
It still holds up. What?
I'll have to look at it.
I bootlegged watched it.
There's 3
I'm
other
hardcore like that.
Yeah, there's 3 other series because the anime people, when they're bringing anime to America in the 80s, they weren't sure to like, they didn't want to bring directly, so they would take a lot of anime series and kind of rewrite them, adapt them for American audiences. And so the whole Robotech saga is actually 3 separate anime series in Japan rewritten to all connect together. The middle series, which is called The Masters, I didn't like, and a lot of Robotech fans don't like it. The 3rd series is great, and you can actually watch the 1st and 3rd series, and they kind of make sense. They almost disregard, because in the 1st series, the ships transform, and then in the Master series, the ships don't transform, and then in the 3rd one, they transform again. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. You got to make up your mind. You can't go backwards. So everybody, I know a lot of people ignored the 2nd series and just go
like,
from
be consistent.
And so they go from the 1st series and then the 3rd series, which is called The New Generation, or called Most Pieta in Japan. But the ships actually transformed, and then they do the Cyclones. I have like all my Robotech toys. That's the thing. It's like all the toys. Like he collects He-Man. I collect Robotech toys, and those things, they get decent ones like $200 a pop. So they're expensive. But I'm addicted to them, so what can I say? I'm a big Robotech fan. So
I wish He-Man was all I collected.
What?
I wish He-Man was all I collected.
Well, you collect.
I know, right?
You collect Lord of the Rings. What are you collecting now? What is everything you collect?
Figures in general.
Try big dinosaurs.
I know, right?
You build them, don't you, Mackenzie?
Well, I get them built.
You get them built? Do you design them and stuff?
Yeah, I design them, and then I send my designs to China, and then I import them into the country.
That must be kind of illegally. What are you importing? A dinosaur? Really?
Oh no! So the first time I ever imported, I was 18, and I guess, don't quote me for this exactly, but you have to be 25 to be a first-time importer. Like it. So I went to my parents and I was like, "Hey, I need you to sign these paperwork, whatnot, or I get fined $5,000," which was like a really big amount then. Well, it's still a big amount, but it was huge. And they were like, "What are you importing in?" And I was like, "A dinosaur." And then I had to go to the bank. And they were like, "What are you importing in?" "A dinosaur." And it was a whole big thing. And we thought everything was fine. And then a couple weeks later, I got a call from the U.S. Customs with the U.S. government. And they were like, "Hey, you're going to be fined $5,000 because the animal you're bringing into the country doesn't have its like vaccines and shots." And I was like, "What?" They like translated it wrong, so I was like, "What does it say on the paperwork?" And they're like, "Well, it's a dinosaur and it says animal." And I was like, "What do you think I'm doing? Reenacting Jurassic Park 2?" But my dad was all up in arms because it was in his name at that time. And he was like, "You need to get this sorted out." So they thought it was a live animal coming into the United States. It was really a great time.
That was hilarious.
The government at work. That's why we need more government people. Not less.
To catch those dinosaurs.
I still remember and how well, like even in some places, like the popularity of some like that. I remember they detained Shahrukh Khan. My friend watches Bollywood, and Shahrukh Khan is like this huge celebrity in India.
Yeah.
They detained them at an airport. I'm like, you detained Shahrukh? Like you didn't know who this? I mean, That's like, I mean, I'm surprised it didn't detain Jackie Chan. I think now enough people know Jackie Chan. But I was just like the weird import, like you're importing something. Like I hear people detain that or whatever. They asked the guy from I remember Squid Games. One interview was like, how does it feel like to be so famous now? And he's like, what are you talking about? I've been famous in China. I think he's from China for years. I mean, it's like what do you know? Yeah. But the dinosaur one would be new. Did they think it was for an amusement park or something?
I don't know what they thought. They just were like, it's listed as a dinosaur, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, I think like it was funny. They should have put like puppet or something.
Yeah, well, they
even though that wouldn't
that one. It was translated from Chinese wrong.
Yeah.
So like it got fixed, but it was like I have so many like the two good stories I have about these dinosaurs, that not included, is another time we were doing an event for Hershey Park, and through a chain of events, not like for speeding or anything, but we got pulled over and the cops came up and they're like, okay, what are you hauling? And I was like, oh no. And I was like, dinosaurs. And he goes, yeah, out of the truck, open it up. And I was like, okay. And I opened it. He was like, oh, no shit. And I was like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, egg on my face, right? It's like, oh,
yeah,
you're really honest. You're transporting dinosaurs. Yeah.
And like I said, the other one was when I lived in Orlando. I had lived in a townhouse, and my townhouse had a garage. And someone called me when I was down in Orlando and was like, hey, I have a dinosaur for sale. I hear like you're in this market, whatnot. And I shouldn't have gotten it, but I saw him and I was like, okay, I'll buy him. So I just threw him in my garage until I came back to PA. But I left my housing department. I went for a walk and I came back and the whole housing department was outside my garage. And I was like, I'm sorry, like, can I help you? They're like, do you live here? I was like, yeah. They were like, we need you to open your garage. And I was like, okay, why? They're like, well, we got a report that you're like harboring livestock inside, like in your garage. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, like we got a call that you have a cow.
I would have got the most out of that. I would have like, okay, are you sure?
Yeah,
I would have really played it up.
Somebody get into it and walk it out and like do something when they opened it.
Everybody stand back.
Yeah, but like I thought they were gonna like pee themselves when I opened that up. They were like pissing themselves laughing because like they were like, okay.
Yeah,
I was like, those dinosaurs get me into something awful.
Which is weird because I'm thinking, especially if it's a cow. I mean, if you're mistaking a velociraptor for a cow.
Well, in their
like,
defense,
how drunk are you?
The one that I got called on it was a T-Rex, and he is big and brown.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, they are like 7 foot tall, like maybe 12 to 15 feet long, depending on which dinosaur. But like, and he's big and chunky, but like, still, you thought it was a cow? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the T-Rex, you can't walk. There's no. It's just stationary, isn't it?
No, they all walk.
How does a T-Rex walk? Is it the same way that the Velociraptor is somebody in the suit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it just one person that operates the whole thing, or is it?
Yeah, just one person gets in it, and it's like it's a robot, but it's also a puppet, so it's an animatronic costume, pretty much.
Well, you just killed the immersion. Now I don't even care to see them.
Sorry.
Man.
Quentin thought they were real.
I was excited up until then.
Sorry.
So, question. Did you say
Yes, Jose, you raised your hand.
Mm-hmm.
I used to live in Pennsylvania when I went to art school.
Where did you go?
I went to art school at Joe Cooper School. And I lived in Canadensis.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I basically lived in the Poconos.
Yeah. I'm about like an hour and a half from the Poconos.
That's hilarious.
I'm an hour away from Tim. Tim's in Salem. I'm in Vancouver, Washington.
How do you guys not hang out together? I'm just saying.
I don't know. Salem's an hour away. Maybe that's it. Yeah, so it's close, but not that. I've never met Tim in person. Maybe at one of the conventions he'll come up.
It was.
Listen, I have friends here in Florida, and I barely ever see them because they're like, "Oh, why don't you come out?" I was like, the sun is out there. It's hot.
Yeah.
Well, it was really funny because I think it was last Sunday when I joined that stream, they had Jerry, I forget his last name, as the guest. And like I was a little bit late, and he was talking. He's going through his time with DC and all of this with Batman. And then I made the comment because I forget how we got on the subject, and I was like, "Oh yes, sorry, I just came from an event from Jim Thorpe, like so I was late coming back." And he had mentioned earlier that he'd lived in the Poconos, and he was like, "That's where I lived. I lived in Jim Thorpe."
Cool.
Like years ago, and I like he never even mentioned that. I was just like, oh, let's come back to the Poconos, and then I mentioned Jim Thorpe. So it's like crazy, like the connections people have to places, and then how close some people are, and they don't see each other. But
oh yeah, I've never seen it, but I've actually seen Bendis, Brian Michael Bendis. One of his favorite comic book stores is Cosmic Monkey, and I've seen him in there a few times just wandering around as a customer.
Yeah,
I did see Kurt Busiek at our local mall. Like I saw him from a distance. I'm like, is that Kurt? Oh yeah, it is. We have a lot of comic book writers and artists out here, and you can see them in the wild, in their natural habitat, right?
In the wild.
In the wild, right? Yeah, I know.
I don't know why, but Aretha Franklin was always at our McDonald's.
Really?
In a small town. Like I live in a small town, PA, and she was always at our McDonald's. It was like. Obviously she's passed, but it's like we always go, oh, McDonald's isn't the same without Aretha. Like it was
really wouldn't
you hear that, Quentin?
We would see
if McDonald's is good for Aretha Franklin, it's good for me.
Yeah, we see Tanya Harding. She lives
and she's passed on, by the way.
Yeah,
yes, I know.
And speaking of that,
she was pretty up there though.
I mean, yeah.
Did
you ever play the game Horizon Zero Dawn, Mackenzie?
Oh yeah.
Because of robotic dinosaurs.
Yeah, like if somebody puts dinosaurs on something, they like got me. So like,
because I was like, that would be cool.
That's why I play Ark.
Yeah,
Ark,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I love Ark. Like I've been playing it for like a year. I got my son to play it. My 12-year-old's like, Daddy, when I get an Xbox, I'm gonna play Ark with you. I'm like, I mean, I don't want to say I'm not gonna still be playing when you get your own Xbox. But I probably will.
What strangely enough, do you have the PlayStation Virtual Reality?
Yeah.
Okay. There's something called Robinson, and this game it's a short game. It's about maybe 4 hours long. It is called Robinson the Journey, and you might, if you've never heard of this, you could probably get it cheap. You crash land on a planet full of dinosaurs, and you wander this planet researching dinosaurs and whatnot. And you can like scan them and but there's like little areas where you try to escape them.
That kind of sounds like minus the dinosaurs.
I think I bought this. I bought this, but like I said, I got so wrapped up with being in the same room of Darth Vader. I have played.
I could never leave.
I'm telling you, like my mom will be like, well, what are you doing to relax? And I'm like, I'm gonna just go play episode 2 of Darth Vader because I can be in the same room as him.
With Darth, I think my favorite. Yeah, I played Sky. What was it? My favorite one was this one called Rez, which was an old Dreamcast game.
Yeah,
and that game was the coolest thing I've ever experienced in VR yet. But the whole game was rhythm based. You play like it looks like you're like the silver guy. Like eventually you upgrade, the guy's like flying, he looks like the Silver Surfer, and eventually you upgrade him, he's like in a lotus position flying through the air, and you shoot stuff. But as you're supposed to be hacking a system, so it's supposed to represent you're hacking a computer system, but as you shoot things, which is not hard, the rhythm of the game, the beat changes, and so the beat will start to pick up. That game, as far as like just a complete visual and auditory experience in VR, that thing was crazy. That was really cool. And then I play horror games, and horror games are always fun in VR. It is scary.
I got really like into like Assassin's Creed there for a while.
Yeah.
Like I got really into that for a while. I don't know what it was. Like I got in a mood that like I wanted to play because like I said, I'm like a couple like credits away from actually having a history associate's degree, like by accident. One day I said maybe I'll go back and get it. So like I love history stuff. So like I got into Assassin's Creed and I was like,
all about that.
I was like, I want like a VR Assassin's Creed because like, oh my god, I would like be living my dream.
I would kill everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody. There isn't a building I wouldn't leap from.
That was like me with Tenchu, which they played that Sekiro game where you play the ninja, which is supposed to be like but I played the old Tenchu with the ninja, and I would just run around and kill everyone. Nobody could live; they all must die.
But you had to like silent assassinate everybody.
Yeah, it was you couldn't kill. You had to assassinate. Yeah, it was allowed to be silent and whatever.
So like
the first game I played that you had to do that was Siphon Filter. I don't know if
it's
an
old
game. It's an old game. That's the first time I ever had to play a game where you had to sneak around and not get caught, or you had to start all over.
The thing about Siphon Filter that I always thought was so funny, but again, it's a game, so I take it, was like if you completely in shadow, except for the 3 green bright dots, and like no one. I'm like, why do you hide in the shadow and then turn on this like these lights? It's the same thing in movies when the guys come in with like the flashlight and the gun, and they're gonna look around, and I'm like, they're trying to find somebody. I'm like, well, they know where you are.
And there's all these red lasers crisscrossing around.
Yeah, like, it looks cool, but I don't think that's very effective.
Dude, you guys are stealth, man.
Yeah. I remember in Siphon Filter, he'd be sneaking around with the 3 green dots, and like you'd be sneaking around soldiers, and the soldiers would never be like, why are there little dots bouncing around in the dark? What is that? Like Metal Gear. I have to say that's probably my other favorite sci-fi world would be the Metal Gear universe. I really like that one too. Yeah. Fantasy, I know, so it'd be Skyrim. So was Skyrim a big influence on this?
I feel like there was a couple games that were, because I was definitely playing games at this point. So like when Roland came to me and I started to throw around some ideas, like I'll doodle to see like if I can come up with a character or whatnot. So I think the first one I came up with for this would be Harlow, who was our dark elf, and then I got the Hale, who is kind of, I don't know what I forget the species that I came up with. He's like our cat man. And then as usual, like as I kept on developing, it kept on going and going. But like you kind of start thinking like, okay, like, or at least how I think, I'm like, okay, especially with comics, it's a lot of visuals. So like what haven't we seen before? What could make this unique? What could make it like when you look at it, you know what it is. So it really came together. But I would say like Skyrim was a big factor when I started crafting it, but it like has since gone away from that. But it was definitely like in the train of thought.
It's crazy because when you think of favorite fantasy or sci-fi worlds, I probably would attribute more of those to video games, because movies and stuff you watch in a story. Video games, there is a story, but you are free to explore the world. So there's much more world building in a video game than say a movie or a series, or maybe there's not so much more. You're more able to explore it on your own. So there's more lore and stuff behind it.
Well,
and
I feel like another thing that inspires me is I don't like when I find something that I like and then it's poorly done by like movies or whatnot. So like I'll be like, okay, how can I make this right? Like for an example, I know, and I again, for anything anyone creates, you can find something that inspired them through it. And I feel like two things I was really, when I go into my fantasy world, the other two things on top of Skyrim is like I loved Narnia growing up. And I feel like that it kind of died down. Like I feel like the books were so great, and the movies, the first two were like good, and then it just trailed away. And like the other thing I loved is I loved the Aragon books, and it was like the Aragon books were great, but and I didn't mind the movie that much, but I was too young to like realize that how much it differed.
That's the one with the dragon.
Yeah, the dragon, the one written by like a 19-year-old.
So, but
that had so much potential. Like they had that one character on it. Like that, there was that one character that was kind of his friend, but like you know what happens in the book, so you're like, no, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, like they were supposed to keep going, and then like they canceled it, and then Disney bought the rights for the books, and for the last like 8 years have been saying like, yeah, we're gonna make a show. Like I think they were waiting to like get Disney Plus going. Before, but like they kept on saying, yeah, we're gonna do a show, like we're gonna do the whole book series, but like
Did he make any more of the books? I know he made the 3.
He made the 4th one. Yeah, it was like an extended amount of time though. Like the other ones came out when I was like early middle school, and I think the last one came out when I was in high school.
Because I read the first one, I think. I can't remember if I read the sequel.
Yeah.
I read the first one. It was funny how some of, I mean, like, I think one of the main characters is named Brahm. And I'm like, you mean like the fantasy artist? And so there's a few influences that are pretty heavy-handed. I'm like, okay, I see what this guy's influences are.
Yeah.
So yeah. I did like those books or whatever. I liked the idea of the magic system. I think it was invoked with.
Yeah.
I thought
there was really such cool. Good world building in those books, and it was just like when they made those movies. I don't necessarily think it was bad. I just, I don't think they did it correctly.
They actually did a really good job with the Percy Jackson books. I've read the first 5, and he did a really good job. The one thing that was really cool, and I've heard that they actually are going to make a TV series of Percy Jackson. But I mean, he goes to a summer camp for the gods. The thing that was really cool, and I hope they do in the show, is when he would walk into, like, there was like a camp house for, like, Poseidon, a camp house for Zeus or whatever. But when you walked into the cabin, it would take you to the world of the gods. So if you walked into Poseidon, it would be like on a beach or whatever. And I thought that's really cool. In the movie, they didn't do that. I'm like, in the books, it was really a cool concept. So I'd be curious. He did another series. I've read the first 2 books about Egyptian. He did
Red Pyramid.
Yeah, those were. I love the magic system, and I love the whole. This is my biggest problem with, like, Harry Potter did a good job with magic, but it was only European English magic. Like, there was one scene, and I've talked about this on here before, where they go to one of the Quidditch games, and it's supposed to be magicians from all over the world are coming to the game. And I'm like, well, that'd be cool, because they're going to show, like, how the Chinese do magic with, like, or the Japanese with the talismans, or you could have the Africans do certain things with masks, or like do voodoo magic and all this. But they didn't. Everyone just used wands, and I'm like, what? Like, what a waste! I mean, you could have done such cool stuff there of, like, cultures doing the same magic but different ways, and she just. Yeah,
and you can tell, like, with Fantastic Beasts now, it's kind of just thrown together. It's like
I never saw the third one.
I watched the first one and I couldn't go past it.
Yeah, I watched the second one. It didn't get much better. And then the third one came out, and she's writing it. Certain people have certain stories, and I think she tried to write other stories outside of Harry Potter. It didn't work, so she went back to write these stories, and they're not really working. Maybe that was the one story. I mean, it happened. Yeah. Star Wars, in a way, is like that. I mean, the original story is about Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, and after that, I mean, you could do other stories, but they're never going to compare to that original story. It's never going to compete.
Yeah. And then I think there's other ones where, like, for me, I feel bad because I feel like Avatar, like James Cameron's Avatar, could have had such an impact. And not that it didn't, but, like, he waited too long to come out with the next.
Yeah,
maybe I'll eat my words when it comes out, but, like, it was like, where was the impact of that film? Like, where was the comics? Where was the books? Where was any of that? Because there was such beautiful world building in that movie.
Last year they have it. They started an Avatar comic. Was it a 2 seas journey or something like that?
Yeah.
And I know the only reason I know that is because Jan Duursema did the artwork for it, and we got to see that. You know what I mean?
He did the there was a video game for it. It was actually kind of cool. He did 3D, like the 3D glass at the time in the game, and the game was fun.
I had that game.
Yeah, it's fun. Is it like a game that blow you away? Not really. I mean, if you like Pandora and searching, it's definitely cool.
When you were talking about that hiding in the grasses and whatever thing, that's the game I thought of, because I was always, like, accidentally jumping out.
Yeah, and trying to. What I've heard, he's making four more, and I think he's making him. That's why we haven't seen the main. Because I'm like, whatever happened to the main guy acted in those movies, and I'm like, oh, he's making all the avatars. But it's supposed to be generational. That's what I've heard. It goes to generations of families.
Well, it was like the thing that I feel like, and again, I just love Star Wars, so I'm biased, but, like, I feel like George Lucas, like, knew, like, too much cake was a bad thing. So he was like, okay, I'll give you these movies and then I'll wait 20 years and give you 3 more and that sort of thing. It was a good spacing, but like those Avatar movies, I feel like, he set it for coming out again in I think it was like 2012.
I think it's next. 2012, but it's next year.
Yeah, and then it got postponed to 2015, and then it was like 2019, 2020, 2021.
He kept adding to it. It was supposed to be 1 more, 3, and now it's 4 more.
Yeah.
Cameron, I mean, personally, James Cameron right now he's got enough money. Does he need to make money from these movies? No, he doesn't. He can do whatever he wants.
He's securing his children's inheritance. Come on, man.
And but yeah, he doesn't need to do anything.
You're lucky we don't get a Titanic Part 2.
I know they've raised the boat up.
The second sinking.
The second sinking.
Maybe Jack can get on the boat or on the door this time.
I know. I never did. A lot of people say like there was room enough for all of them for him to get on that or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. But somebody had to die.
My wife and I have a different logic on that because we like musicals, right? So we watch one of our favorite musicals is Phantom of the Opera, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's so romantic and whatnot," and we're like, "No, Christine is a jerk. Like she is rude. She is snobby. Like, what do you mean? Like, listen, she was all about the Phantom because he was bohemian, he was musical, he was like passion and whatnot, and then here comes a guy with money, and she ditched him. I'm just saying. I feel the same way about what's her name from Titanic. Like she could have had room. She could have had room to do whatever, but she's like, oh no, this guy's poor, and I'm gonna go to America and make sure I secure everything with money. I'm out. Bye, guys. Like I'll never let you go. Bloop 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 bloop.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know. She's like, I never. It's been fun. See ya.
Right? I'll never let you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, we watched the end of that, and we're just like, freaking Christine.
It still irritates me. I pretend that it didn't happen. I think that was my first fan fiction when I was like 10. Phantom.
I mean, I guess they did have a sexy time, so I guess maybe she had his child. Or
yeah, because if you have Love Never Dies, they had a sequel.
Yeah, they rewrote it where she had his child.
That was crazy. Like I actually watched that, and like it started off like very, very much like the first one, and then all of a sudden they went into this like electric guitar like song, and I'm like, wait, what just happened? Like, this is crazy.
I actually liked it. I mean, it wasn't.
No, I'm not knocking it. It just wasn't. I wasn't expecting it. I'm like, because when I first saw Phantom, I was in high school, and at the time, McDonald's came out with like these explore your backyard thing, and they had this like globe that opened up into like binoculars, right? Which was super cheesy. And I'm like, okay, our school's taking us to go see this stinking play. It's whatever. Like my Phantom of the Opera was Universal Studios Monster Phantom. Like this is gonna be dumb. I went there, and the minute that chandelier came up, I was like, holy balls. Like, I was just transfixed the entire time. Like, I absolutely love Phantom of the Opera.
I do too. Oh, my God.
I've seen it off stage. I've seen it off Broadway 3 times. I saw it on TV with, like, the different, like, stages that they had. I've seen, obviously, the one with Gerard Butler. And we've shown our kids the one with Gerard Butler. And even my kids will say, freaking Christine.
Strange enough, I think
happy.
This is a musical movie, but I don't think it's a musical play. But I was always a big fan of Xanadu, which is super cheesy 80s with Olivia
Newton-John. Yeah, Olivia Newton-John, and she was a muse, I believe.
Like, she was a muse that came to Earth.
She was at the height of her career.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it was funny because they did a live showing of that at a local theater here, and I went to it, and you had everyone wearing Olivia Newton-John shirts and Xanadu. Right. Some guy painted his coat like Xanadu. It was great, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. But I listened to the music all the time. I'd never seen the show, and I finally watched the show, and I'm like, oh yeah. I listened to the soundtrack all the time. I did see Phantom. Somebody took me to see Phantom of the Opera, and I remember
Phantom is astounding.
It was like this. I don't know if they did this in yours, but it was like this one sort of huge like tower-like thing in the center of the play, and it would open up to different scenes in the show. They would spin it around,
That's the one I saw where I saw on TV when I was talking. I had different like stages and whatnot. Yeah, it would have the stage that would spin and it'd be a different section of it, and when I was really
and
neat.
then it would like open up a section. Then it would be that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I'm like that.
I've also seen Frankenstein that same way on off Broadway on the stage. Yeah, Frankenstein they had where like he was outside and was in the Arctic and whatnot, and when he was climbing in to kill Frankenstein's wife and whatnot, like it just turned the stage and he was inside there. Like it was cool.
You know, strange. I was going back to another. So about the Horizon Zero Dawn games, I was like, what would it take to actually build one of those dinosaurs to your scale, the way you build them?
Oh God.
I mean, you could it would be obviously like fake, but I mean, I was thought of those. I'm like when I saw yours, I'm like because I started playing Horizon Zero Dawn again a little bit ago. I was looking at yours. I'm like, man, that would be cool if she could build one of those. I mean, I don't know if you could do it with the rights or whatever, but I mean, if somebody could, that would be. I mean, how different?
I mean, I'm sure they could. I mean, God, anything's possible.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You just have to have a pocket full of change.
Yeah, and just build it, and because I know some of those things, because the way they design them in the game, it looks like. Almost some of them are built from like car parts or whatever. Like even though it's supposed to be sci-fi, it looks like they just like modeled car parts and like how would this put together and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know the one company, I don't deal with them, but like they were making like a lot of like kaijus and like Godzilla and everything for
nice.
I think they were making it for like promotion for the movies coming out.
Yeah.
And man, those things were like, I mean, they were something else compared to what I do. It was like a whole, like you think you know things, and then it's like a whole nother world opens up.
Yeah.
And you get into that.
Oh, those guys, they still. I think the new Godzilla, the new movies, the American ones, is full CGI. But I thought, like, isn't some of that practical? I know Jurassic Park, they still use practical effects along with
like,
it.
I think a lot of the times what they're trying to do is like, from what I understand, any close-up shots they're trying to do like either puppeteer work or animatronics or anything like that, because you know things are getting so like TVs are HD and 4K and the eye is starting to be able to pick up what's CGI versus that, so it's easier to tell with the like at a distance that like, oh, it's like that could be real, where it's close up you can tell if it's fake.
Right. And it's the one thing that still gives it away, and even mostly Jurassic Park a little bit, is there's too much flow in the musculature, like the muscles. So when they move the dinosaurs, most animals don't have this sort of, you don't see all the muscles rippling and moving underneath the skin. And they still do this a lot in movies. I would assume because it looks cool, but it takes you out. You immediately know, oh, that's a CGI dinosaur, because you don't see that in just real animals.
Yeah, like I will die on the hill that like not making like, I know it would have been expensive, but I will die on this hill that like that CGI T-Rex in the first Jurassic World movie was absolutely terrible. It was supposed to be the same T-Rex from the first movie, and it was just so bad. And it was like, if you gave us the animatronic the first time, you can't have people believe that that's standing there with how it looks 20 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I will die on this hill. I was so annoyed.
I was not super impressed with the Jurassic World movies. I watched, they were showing Jurassic Park on HBO. Like, we have HBO, and every once in a while they'll throw in old movies. And the old Jurassic Park still holds up pretty well. I mean, you know,
it really does.
It's for almost, and I almost say I've almost said the dinosaurs have actually gotten worse looking as the series has gone on. And I'm always surprised, and I don't know if it's just there's too much motion or too much musculature animation. I'm not sure, but it just feels like the dinosaurs, they look
it's
more
like
cartoonish.
Oh my God, I could go on this. Like, it just drives me nuts because like the T-Rex, and even if it was scientifically correct, which it is not.
Oh,
like,
Jurassic Park is not scientifically correct at
all.
all.
Like, I meant like the jaw, like if you look at the T-Rex, how it roars in the first Jurassic World and onwards, the jaw opens to an extreme amount, which it never opened to before. So it just looks wrong compared to what was programmed in our minds. And it's like, why would you do 3 movies of having it like this and then change it over to this and think it would be okay?
Because people just think it's cool. As dumb as it is, I think you should get a bunch of executives and then they're just like, well, that looks cool. So who cares about science? Let's do
once
that.
I get in there, let me tell you, I'm bringing a dinosaur in and going, this is how a jaw opens.
Yeah, and this is like, it's that and the, I mean, they still have yet to put feathers on them. Which, I mean, the first Jurassic Park, that was still a theory. I understand as time went on. But the new movies, I guess you just have to realize they're mutant dinosaurs, but like just the feathers and stuff. One of my friends' favorite.
They threw some lines in there to cover that. I will give them that, but like,
okay,
I don't know. They're just like you said. They're just getting worse, and it's because like honestly, it's because CGI is cheaper than building a bunch of animatronic puppets. But like, there has to be a give because like you said, I don't think these Jurassic World movies are going to hold up in another 20, 30, 40 years, but I feel like those Jurassic Park movies will.
I think the Jurassic Park ones, they knew when to pull back. The Jurassic Worlds are just gone. Now they have like mutant variation dinosaurs and things like that. That I just, I've never. I mean, you don't have to be super, I guess, scientifically accurate. Of course, my friend's favorite paleontologist is Gregory Paul, and Gregory Paul's written a few books on like, I think he wrote one on herbivores and then one on carnivores, but like certain, and he does paintings, but Gregory Paul will do dinosaur paintings. He used to, and I don't know what, like, if he does it anymore, but he used to. And if you actually ever go look at his paintings of dinosaurs, they're fantastic. But since he was a paleontologist, he tried to make it as accurate as possible.
Yeah.
My friend Tom loves his paintings. So every time we see Jurassic Park, it's like, that's not like Gregory Paul's. Gregory Paul was the other one that started painting a lot of different colors on him. Instead of brown, he'd paint like whites and yellows and blues, and thinking like these animals would look like or whatever. Very interesting. Yeah.
I feel like another thing, and this isn't just with the dinosaurs, this is just like, in mainstream, like people are so worried about now, instead of like the storylines and so on and so forth, and letting writers just do a storyline. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, we need to focus on a copyright, and we need to focus on toys, and we need to do all this.
Right.
And like, for example, for the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World series, like for my company, I can't be associated with like Jurassic anything, or the word Jurassic, sure.
Right.
But not
the property of Jurassic.
Not the series. However, like, because they did hybrids, they don't own dinosaurs. So I'm in the safe for doing dinosaurs. But like, if I wanted to do like a Indoraptor, I don't even know what it is. Indoraptor. Like, I can't do that because that was their creation. So I think they more walked into this like, how can we do dinosaurs that we can own? So like, example, people like me who have this business like can't be like, oh yeah, we have the Indoraptor and we have Blue or we have anything like that. They want like copyrighted characters now that are their creation.
Yeah, which I think that's just like with the toy line. Which
they're making properties, and they can sell and buy these properties, and they're really super,
and
about
sue over them.
Yeah. That's kind of the problem, but at the same time, you can kind of see where they're coming from if they're a suit, and don't really have a creative bone in their body. They're looking at numbers while we're dreaming and dreaming up the stuff.
Yeah, which is basically that's I mean, so much of the I will hold on one second. I will say, because this guy, he's like, so this guy Jeff Potts, who says my favorite fantasy world is mine, the Revenant and the Tomb. Apparently, he has written a book or a comic. I'm not sure. Apparently, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, whatever. And sure. Another outlet. So I'll throw that out.
Okay, Jeff.
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah. I created my Goblins book, but that's half fantasy, half sci-fi, I think. I don't know. It's kind of, it starts. I don't know if you've read. Oh, I did get the actual book made too. So actually, Yeah, so the actual book is done. I have to reformat it a little bit. Apparently, some of the pages got cut off, so I'm going back and redoing that. But the book is done. But it's kind of like
Well,
starts sci-fi
awesome.
and then goes
That's
fantasy.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my favorite fantasy world is mine. Mackenzie's, I think, would be her comic, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, do you have a name for your world?
Yeah. Well, like the like country that they're in is Garcia.
Okay.
But like that's as far as we know so far.
Well, if there's no reason to know anymore, then there's no reason.
Right.
Well, the enemy is from lands unknown.
Lands and okay, that was a Darkspawn because I actually or something like that. Yeah, I remember reading your pitch. I almost chose yours, but I went with the obsoletes. Because I haven't done sci. Goblins is kind of a fantasy. I'm like, I want to do sci-fi, so I went with the obsoletes.
Oh, so you were the first one that
I was
said no.
Yeah, because I was a toss between you.
Now I know.
Yeah, because there was a toss between yours and the obsoletes, and I've read the obsoletes, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't drawn sci-fi stuff in a long time, so I thought I'd do
and
that.
just like that, Aaron loses points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Never mind. I don't even want to be your favorite.
It's fine. You weren't even on the list.
I'm running back to
you. Jose's on that list, and it's just his name repeated the whole list.
I know.
Yeah. My godly starts out as a sort of like advanced society that, I mean, the thing that, and it's not too much a spoiler, there are these beings that basically develop the ability to control matter on a molecular level, and the universe is dying. I consider it the big crunch. We all generally that the death of the universe would be like the freezing effect of the big freeze, I can't remember freezing. Basically, where matter separates itself, spreads out so far that you can't actually matter's not interacting, so it's a freezing. I like the big crunch because I like the idea of a contracting universe. Like if the universe expands, it would contract. Then that sounds cool. So I did. So my gods, knowing that, then wanted to escape their universe. They built another one. They built another universe to escape into, and that's how my gods. So they're gods not like you would think. They're gods that they made their own universe to escape.
They're like self-made gods.
Yeah, basically. They're so advanced they would be gods to us. So Jeff Potts says his stuff, it's a book, it's a novella. That's cool. Yeah.
Cool, Jeff.
Yeah.
Where's the link, Jeff?
Where's my free copy?
Right?
Free copy, that's right. Where's my free copy? You got to give it to me. Yeah, it's funny. The other thing is, so do you guys read a lot of fantasy comics? Because somebody else asked this the other day. I watched a YouTube video where they used to make a lot of fantasy comic books, which still surprises me. That
I actually picked up 2 Conans the other day, but I haven't read them yet.
Are they Dark Horse or are they Marvel?
Marvel.
Yeah.
I picked them up just to check them out, just to see what there is to them. But
one of the ones I want to pick up. Yeah, one of the ones I want to pick up is the Sumerian, which is basically supposed to be Conan as well, but like obviously Marvel has Conan copyright or license. I mean, so somebody was like, "I'm gonna write stories about Conan," and I don't know the premise behind it, other than the fact that it went against Marvel. So now I kind of want to read it.
Oh, really?
Like the big dogs, right?
That's a rebellious nature of me.
Yeah.
Well, I my favorite, because I've read a lot of the Conan books, and then Dark Horse got a hold of Conan. And if you ever get a chance to find the old Conan books, so what they actually tried to do is Conan was kind of written out of order. The stories were written in various parts of his life because he would just write them. They adapted all the stories from the books and tried to put them in what they feel was chronological order of his life. And so I have all the Dark Horse books, and they're fantastic. All of them are great. And in fact, I think Marvel republished them, which always irritates me. It's like Conan by Marvel's like, that's published by Dark Horse. That's not Marvel. I know that trick. I'm not doing. Same with the aliens. Look at all the Marvel alien books. No, that's all Dark Horse. Don't even give me that.
Dark Horse has some really good alien stories. Like,
Dark Horse
really
did,
good. Yeah.
I don't know. I still also have. I don't know about the old Marvel having Conan and Aliens and Predator. And I'm still kind of sore about that a little bit, especially when Disney's putting out a new Predator movie, but it's called Prey. How original. Um, but yeah, I'm like, ooh, what a way to sneak that one by, right?
Yeah, it just seems like, stuff like Conan, and it just seems like it should be a little more rated R. So
Yeah.
then when, somebody comes along and picks it up like that and, you know, pulls its teeth, I don't know.
It
I
Disney,
used
haven't
to
read it
be
yet.
like back
I
in the
don't know.
day.
I
Like
just want to
Conan used
know.
to show like naked ladies and all kinds of stuff like that. Like
Oh yeah,
my first experience with comics, like in ever, was
yeah,
I found my dad's Conan comics underneath his bed,
Yeah.
yeah,
and
yeah,
like that was So like that was my first experience. And after that, it was over. Like it was like I have to read comics, and I
yeah. Robert E.
didn't read
Howard.
anything
That's the one.
specific. Yeah,
The only Conan's already had. Yeah, canon. That
that's
Conan.
true.
That's the ones I read, and I think
So
Dark Horse did a good job of adapting it.
The Sumerian is supposed to be following like some of the Robert E. Howard storyline,
Oh really?
as opposed to as opposed to whatever Marvel decided to do with them, especially when Marvel threw Conan into like the Avengers.
I knew they would do that. Well, they were
Yeah.
having a big thing with the aliens supposed to come into the Marvel universe and be attacking the city. I'm like, no, that's stupid. And the reason why is because, especially with the aliens, if you take the Marines and that sci-fi world out of aliens, it doesn't work. You
Yeah.
can't just take the alien monster and put it in anything. It really exists in that world with the Marines and all of that. That's all connected.
Well,
And
Marvel
so it
already has
irritates.
that. They have the Brood.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but they fight maybe the aliens will fight the X-Men. We'll get lucky or whatever. Yeah.
Predator versus Batman.
Right.
I never
Strangely,
picked that up, but
yeah, they had what was it? Superman versus aliens. I remember that.
Yeah.
The only one that actually I thought was different, but actually made sense, and I never read it, was they had Tarzan versus Predator, and I actually thought about them. Actually, that actually kind of works because he's a jungle predator, and so that I never read it, but I actually thought like out of all the mashups they were doing in the '90s with all those creatures, the Tarzan versus Predator seemed like okay, I can see that.
I wanted
Like,
a fan fiction about Predator where Billy lived.
yeah, I
I
know.
know, right? Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
just it
Like
didn't put up a
the
fight.
one moment somebody decides to be like, oh, just awesome, and just like that they kill. Come on,
You
man.
know, in the original script, he actually did live, and he was the one who picked Dutch up. Yeah, in the original script, but they changed it and gave him an implied death, which is kind of implied. But then when you see him on the, up in the trees getting his spine ripped out of his back, it's not really implied anymore.
I do remember the making of that show is interesting because it was all these alpha males. But I do remember like the guy who played Billy. I don't remember his name. Actually had to have like a handler or something, like an agent or something around him because he was a little volatile to the other. Like he could be volatile to other actors or whatever. And I never could tell like was he really or was that just show or whatever. So I sometimes wonder if they cut that scene or whatever because they were like, we don't want to put up with this guy anymore. I don't know. You wonder. And
maybe
that happens.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The first time I saw him was in 48 Hours with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy.
Yep, he was in the bar.
Yeah, he was. I think he was. His character's name was Billy in there.
Yeah, and there were Billy Bear. I think his name was.
Yep, Billy Bear. Yep, and Gans.
Yeah. Sorry, the different idea that the movie production companies can steal. Yeah, I think they're tapped out too. The Predator, the movie one called Prey. If they do it right, it actually sounds kind of cool. Apparently, it's coming to Hulu, and it's about a predator that hunts a Comanche warrior in the 17th century, and it's a woman, a Comanche warrior woman. I'm like, okay,
well, evidently,
I could be down with that.
That sounds cool, but I heard they're going to give her magic, so she's going to be able to use Comanche magic or whatever. I'm like, no,
in the book
that
came from the movie, the book was being made before the movie was put out. There's a lot of differences, and one of the differences is that Billy is actually a member of a tribe that actually used to have warriors, a sect of warriors or shamans or whatever, that would fight the predators. And so that's why he has this bag and this sixth sense about the predators.
That's interesting. That's cool.
So you should look up on YouTube. There's a guy who talks about the book, and there's a lot of interesting differences between the book and the movie.
Yeah.
But it goes farther back into his lore, and he actually had a really big part of the original
cut him
story that
down.
was given. But of course, it got chopped off. As changes were made. So
Yeah,
it
it's
was
done,
really super interesting because, like, there's parts of the movie where he's looking out there and they're like, Billy, and he's like, he's just standing there looking out into the forest. And in the book, it explains that he has like a sixth sense with these alien creatures, and he can almost kind of hear and see. It's really strange. But
Yeah.
then again, some of the things that are really off in the Predator book is that the Predator can not only go into camo, but he can actually change form somewhat.
Okay, yeah.
In
Which
the
obviously
movie,
they could not do then.
in the movie, it came out as him being able to mix, speak like other people,
Yeah,
record
he
voices
mimics
and stuff.
sound. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I suggest going over and watching that on YouTube
I
about
wonder if they
the
would
book
connect
Predator.
the new movie to that. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Because I haven't heard about that stuff. I know the original. The very first concept art of the Predator, he was more like in a spacesuit, and it was very different looking. Actually, really cool. But you could see the design, like practically at that time. I don't think they could have done that well in the movie. I don't think it would have been able to pull it off. Now you
Yeah.
could.
Well, in the movie, it ended up, of course, we know that, the Predator, they come here to hunt and all that. But in the book, they're like scientists, and they go around and they catalog things, and they can actually take control of like lesser animals, like
Yeah.
birds and stuff like that. But humans, they cannot, because humans are sentient and they're intelligent like the predators.
So
I
And
still almost kind of like I that's an interesting idea. I think I've always liked the idea of the big game hunter. I think that was the idea of a
yeah,
scientist
I
sounds
think
I
that
think the
one
big
out.
game
There was a
hunter.
lot of stuff in the book that's just a little, glad they didn't go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that he's just like a big game hunter, that to me was just it's a simple concept and it's just a really effective one. The way, but yeah, if they do the magic in the Prey movie where she's like doing prayers or something or like that's fine. Just don't have her doing stuff like they did in the Mulan remake where they had her like spinning through the air and jumping off walls and I watched bits and pieces of
listen,
that Mulan.
I haven't seen that yet, but from everything I've seen, why throw in a witch and not put freaking
the dragon
what's
in
his
there.
name
That
in?
didn't
Yeah,
make
Mushu.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they wanted to go to the culture, but you missed what made that film
Right.
great.
Right, the original film, yeah. I think that was and also the thing about it is I remember them saying, which I thought was kind of entertaining. They brought it over to China and I don't think it did well. And they said, well, yeah, because there's lots of movies about Mulan because she's a famous like historical figure over here.
Yeah.
And so your movie just didn't compare to the other one. So it was just they just didn't care.
And I heard that too because they were even like people over in China that they thought were gonna be like, they respected our culture and all that. So they were like, well, we liked the music and we liked the fun and the fantasy of the original. So it was like this was supposed to be a Disney movie of that movie. So like you just said, it's like the other ones. So why go see it?
Right.
Exactly. And so they just never they just never did.
Yeah.
And I think they tapped in. I remember watching a little bit I watched bits and pieces of the movie I saw and it just always felt like, well, it's this historical thing, but then there's like she's flipping around and she could and they say, well, she could focus her chi. And I'm like, that the one thing is like the chi thing is actually a real thing. So but don't be like, well, yeah, but if you could focus chi, you could run on air and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's just I mean, them using it in, like the way they do in the movies, like using it in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, when it's just a dramatic thing. You know what I mean? They're not doing it to like bring attention to that like Eastern like religion and culture and whatnot. They're doing it as an excuse to be able to do what they want to do.
I always took a lot of the film. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. I was just gonna say, I feel like, especially for Disney doing these remakes and going that past with like that film, but there's also multiple other ones that kind of come to mind. Like I feel like Aladdin was a good mix of it that they did, but I feel like they did Cinderella and it kind of went to their heads, and then they were like,
right.
How do we grab this person? How do we grab that person? And then they really should have just stuck to the story.
They expanded it. That's so weird about some of these remakes of Disney. They'll take these old movies and they expand it, add another. I remember we saw the Beauty and the Beast, which I look, CGI is just, it's just not there for a love story. I mean, every time you see her looking at the Beast, it's like, she's looking at a tennis ball on a stick or something.
But I like that the rest of the house and whatnot was animated CGI and whatnot. I actually thought that was pretty cool. Like, I mean, some of it was kind of but
the addition of like the plague and all that was like really good.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff in there, and Disney's been like, we add more. Like, you don't need to add more to these movies. Mulan was another one. Like, we'll get into the political stuff and why they're like, no, you just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, because in the original cartoon they never really. The Huns are attacking. You got to stop the Huns.
Yeah.
That was it.
Right.
There was a reason they were timeless, and you just made them not timeless.
Yeah.
Right.
It was Outlander. The funny sci-fi movie was with Vikings, Outlander with Jim. Oh, that sounds really familiar. What year was that made?
Oh yeah, I remember that because he was in space.
Was it in space? Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's a new Viking movie that just came out that I'd be curious.
No. You have to watch it. Like it's interesting. I feel that I've seen it, but I can't remember like the details off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
Yeah, because I thought too, like the Outlander TV show. So to talk, I'm like, yeah, but that don't have Vikings in it. That takes place a little past the Viking era.
Be like, no, that just has a Scotsman in it.
Scotsman,
right?
Yeah. Which I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's like, so what is the most common like masculine male in all the romance books? Like the Scotsman. And so, like, would you mean Scarf Outlander? Like a Scotsman. I'm like, really?
I love that show.
Oh no, I watched bits and pieces of it, and it's really well done. I still blows my mind that guy was the guy who did Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah,
same guy. He created both. Yeah, so the movie came out in 2008. I feel like I've seen this. I'll have to check this out, but I think I have seen that in Vikings in Space. I mean, that's an easy win. Yeah, Outlander is. I think they're finally ending the series in the next season, but she goes the books. I know I have. My mother likes Outlander.
Wait, you just ruined my whole day if you just broke that to me.
That's what I heard. That's what they were saying. That the next one. Yeah, he says Outlander the movie is no way related to. Oh yeah, I know.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, the
Scotsman
that's what
Vikings.
I've heard.
Okay.
But I don't
know. I
know.
just know, like, she just came out with a new book, and I was like, oh, is she gonna, like, I thought they were gonna do each series to match the books, but maybe they're not.
That's what I would think. I mean,
that's always the plan, right? I'm sure that's always the plan when they do that. But just, maybe interest fell or whatever, if that's the case.
That has a really good following, like, so, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. The thing is, I think Outlander is incredibly well done. For what I've seen of it, I wish you would explain a little more on the time travel aspect. That's the only thing that always kind of gets me about that show. About. It's very historical, but the time travel stuff just kind of seems to be there.
I think it's better done in the books.
Yeah,
show
because he can't go to the future and they go back but I was like, they try to change and they try to do some stuff. I don't know. It seems like this historical romance, and then it's like this time travel thing, and it's
I think with that one, like, it's not planned yet, like, it's not written, but like in the first book and in the first series, it's like you see his ghost watching her. So I think why he can't go is because technically he's already there. Like,
okay.
His ghost is there with them because he's already dead in his time, so he's with them. But like, that's not explained until like, far out.
I like
you couldn't even mention spoilers. Now you've ruined it for me.
Sorry,
I've
I
never
don't know.
seen it.
Like,
Thanks.
scary.
And she's from the 60s, World War. Is she from the 60s? It's World War II.
Yeah.
Wasn't she a nurse in World War II? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I watched a lot of the first season, and then I know they go into all the major events and wars. And I get a feeling why a lot of these series ended. I would just assume the actors and people involved just want to move on. It's incredibly hard to make series that if they go that long, where these people just
I don't know how half the ones on Grey's Anatomy are still doing it.
Yeah, there's some
That
people
show
that
is
just
still
go
on?
forever, and
Wow. Good
yeah.
for them.
Well, that's like almost like the soap operas when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think it's still they change it, but I mean they're still doing that. Yeah, Outlander.
Like Mark Harmon leaving NCIS. It's like, how do they go on?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what's his name from Law and Order? One of the main guys passed away.
Yeah.
I mean, and they could go on, but he was like the main star of that show forever.
Yeah.
The Law and Orders. I mean, that's such a serialized show for the most part. In other words, you can watch any episode out of order and pretty much.
Right.
What I think a lot of us grew up with TV. Even X-Files did that. You can watch most of Dragon Slayer. It's one of the darker. Are you talking about the old 79? Yeah. Yeah, that was a classic. Have you guys ever seen Dragon Slayer?
Yes.
I don't remember.
It's been a long
Was
time
it
ago.
really from 1979? That can't be. Was it really?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
I thought that was in the 80s. I remember watching that as a kid. Yeah. That
Me
was
too.
That had the epitome of like the best D&D dragon. Like that dragon in that show was like what all the D&D dragons look like. It was like, and the dragon still holds up. I mean, it's one of those ones to be in 79 when they did the dragon effects. They still work.
If that's
really
the same
well.
one I'm thinking about,
the guy with the curly hair who's going out. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever that dragon goes to crawling around and the way he's crawling, it looks like you would think a dragon would look, as moving around across the ground.
Yeah, when he fights the dragon, it's because he uses the dragon scales. Yeah, I did not realize that movie was that old. I believe he's right, but I'm just like, wow.
Well, there's a lot of movies. Things went slower back then, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when a movie would come out at the theater and you had to wait about 3 to 5 months for it to ever come out on DVD. And then when you did, then you couldn't get it because everybody would have it rented out,
No, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to have to say.
And that's in the 90s.
Now, this Dragon Slayer one says it was made in 1981. Maybe we're not talking about the same movie now.
Well, there's a couple of movies that are, that's the reason why I said if it's the one I'm thinking about, because there's a couple of them that they're a lot the same, but there's a few, of course, they're different movies. One of them is where this guy has like this 3-bladed sword. What was that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
You guys have lost me. You go ahead.
I can't remember. Anyway, I will.
You want to talk about Peach Dragon? Come get me.
Yeah, it was 1981. But I mean, that's really close. I mean, 79 to 81, you're talking a few years different. Still, that's really old and it still holds up. Yeah, because it had originally taken blurring.
Well, I'm finding movies all the time that say the 70s, and I was born in 77. Yet there's movies that I was watching, that were from 76, and I didn't see them till 82, and it was like a new movie.
Well, Aliens was made in 79.
Yeah, see, like that one. I never would have thought that would, because when I saw it, it was like, still people were talking about it,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was older than Quentin.
Yeah, you are. I knew that.
Wow.
I could tell that just by looking at you.
That? Wow, thanks, Dad.
I'm trying to think who is the oldest.
Well, you're not that much older. You're what, 76?
Not me.
75.
Okay.
Not you.
You're 40. You were 46, Jose.
I think.
You think?
I know, right?
I was born in 75.
I got the same.
Yeah, I was born in 75 too. Yeah.
Legit, at some point within the last 7 years, I think I had the same birthday twice. Like I was telling everyone, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be this age. I'm gonna be this age. I want to be this age." And And then like my birthday rolled around, I was like, oh yeah, next year I'm going to be this age. And it was the same age, and I didn't catch it. And I had to have my wife told me, she's like, no, dude, you're going to be like 46, I think, this year. I'm like,
really?
really?
If I didn't have
Crap,
people
I thought I
giving
was
me
going to be
junk
younger.
about it, then I wouldn't remember mine for
Right?
sure.
Like me and my best friend decided we're just going to stop counting at 36. So now from now on, we're just 36.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Then you'll be wondering, why does my back hurt so much?
Yeah.
Because you're 80. What are you talking about?
I don't understand. I'm only 36.
Because you're 80, great grandpa.
Oh man. Yeah, getting old there, starting to get the hand pains and all that. Well, you got the surgery on your hand. Quentin did.
Yep.
Oh, listen, I had cataracts in both my eyes. Like I couldn't see. I was legally blind, and I had surgery in both my eyeballs. Now they're bionic, and
I got bit by a dinosaur.
You say bit by one or play one?
You would be the only person to say that, and most of us, like the rest of us, would be like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
That's legit, whatever. Well, I think on that note, we are going to, because it's 10:01, so I think
it time?
It's that time
it's
again.
It's 1:02 here.
That's right.
10:01.
12:02 here.
Yeah, you guys are all later than me. This is supposed to be the West Coast stream, but I think we have who out here is on the. Well, I guess
you.
That's him. That was why we made the stream, was for the West Coast people.
Right.
Like me and Tim,
you and Taco Tim.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Mackenzie came back. I'm glad you came back.
Hey, I knew you would be doodling in my comics, so I was like, I'm coming back.
Coming back to see
Once you move on, I'm just going to be like, goodbye, see you later. I'm going to
Well, it'll
at
be
least
every
we know
week.
where we stand.
Y'all look at this poor guy. Y'all go ahead and look at this poor guy, because you ever see see these things online?
He's gonna have a bad day. He has a receding hairline. He looks like someone forgot his birthday.
Yep. You ever see these things online where people say, if she only knew what was going to happen that day, and it's like the last photo took of blah blah blah. Well, look at this guy. This is like his last few moments.
The day before his retirement. He's like, I just need to get through to retirement tomorrow, and this is when shit hits the fan.
Yep. And look, he was just volunteering like all the other people at the hospital that you talked to, that give you, tell you where to go. He's like, just volunteering for the village, and this particular night is when they all get attacked.
Nothing ever happens. It won't happen while I take the shift.
Yep. That's right.
Nothing ever happens. I like how the
poor guy.
And it's just him. Isn't there another character in the scene you haven't drawn yet? Doesn't he have a buddy besides the dogs and him and somebody else?
Yeah,
or is it just him?
Yeah, there's one other person. There's one guy there. There's another. I actually had this guy much wider, and I think I still will, but I'm not sure. I actually had him being like chunky. But anyway, yeah, they're just all kind of sitting around the fire here. About to get on.
He's having that Murtaugh moment. I'm too old for this crap.
You got your Tiger Wolf here. I hope I got this right. This Tiger Wolf.
Honest to God, Quentin, like that's perfect.
Okay.
And I'm not just saying that. Like that's literally exactly how I imagined it.
Well, good, because a Tiger Wolf, as if a regular wolf chasing you wasn't bad enough, then you give him stripes. He just looks that much more.
Yeah.
Intense.
Yes.
He looks really good.
Well, we're going to cut it there. So before we go, we all say our final slogan. I guess, is it a slogan anymore? Is that what it is?
Wait, Quentin, you didn't get your word in. I thought you were going to try to get your word in every stream.
Oh, yeah, that we will in just a minute. I don't, Aaron is he doesn't even know. Never mind.
No, I don't pay attention. What word is that? Do we have a word of the day?
Oh, I have a word. Mine's Hayden Christensen.
That's her favorite. Mine is Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
R.I.P.
And I
awesome.
can say
That was a
happy
word, not
birthday,
a
Hayden
name.
Christensen.
Is it actually his birthday today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then he can come on the stream and watch us all.
Oh,
So-
don't. I won't be here.
Where's McKinsey? All of a sudden, passed out on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's fantastic.
We just
He's
see
like
we
the
see her
only person
name.
I've met, and I couldn't handle it. Like, I have met every celebrity known to man, worked with them. He was the only one I couldn't handle.
Starstruck,
Wow.
huh?
Yep, that was the only one. I got a little bit with Henry Cavill one time when he walked through the door, like, because I just wasn't expecting him, and it was like, I was doing something with a poster of his, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'll go get him. And I was like, oh my god. But I, like, recovered, but no.
I almost got plowed over by crap. I lost George Carlin,
Really?
the
Really?
old comedian. Yeah, he was coming out of a hotel room. I was going to Chicago Comic Con, which at the time was Wizard World Chicago, and a friend of mine and I were walking in, and this guy just like kind of plows right through, and we just barely moved to the side. Like, man, that jerk looked like the freaking bishop from Dogma. And then we kind of took a double take, and he's getting into a car, like, and turns around, looks at us and whatnot. He's getting in the car with a sign that says George Carlin. Like, holy crap, that's the bishop from Dogma.
I actually got to see him live before he passed away, so I was happy to do that.
My sister went to Star Wars convention with me the one time. She knows nothing about Star Wars. She just was like, I'll go because I want to go to Florida. And she was like, well, if I can see C-3PO, and literally Anthony Daniels came out, and my sister was standing right next to him. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. She gets to see him. He talked to me. She was taking photos. And then when we walked away, I was like, isn't that great? You got to meet Anthony Daniels. She's like, who's that? And I was like, the man you were standing next to. I thought you were taking photos. Here, he had one of those like remote control, like somebody had the R2D2. My sister was taking pictures of R2D2. And she was like trying to get him out of the shot. She like has video of her asking Anthony Daniels to get out of the shot.
No
and I was
idea.
like, I will never, ever, ever take her anywhere again.
That's hilarious.
All right,
Well, we have a few announcements to make before we go. We need to do a shout out to our sponsor, Daytona Beach Comic Con, which is coming up in September.
Man,
and
do you know
also,
how many of us are going?
Are you going?
Yeah.
Aaron, you going? Yes,
don't
he's
know
going.
if I'll be able to.
I'll
give it a shot.
He's going. Mackenzie, were you showing up to that one?
I don't know if
She's
I can.
going.
I will.
She's going. Okay. We're all four going.
Yeah.
Apparently we're all going.
Like,
okay.
That's four.
A ton of us from Silver Line going.
There's
I'm pretty sure we have an entire island of just us.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We're gonna get in some trouble. I just know
that for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll bring a dinosaur.
Oh,
dude.
We also have. When is the Kickstarter for the Obsoletes and Cray? That's May.
It starts May.
May 7th, right?
I know
it's in May.
7th is pre-comic book day.
Okay, so I'm not sure. I know it's in May, so keep an eye out for that. I think that's it. Do we have
Yeah, and depending on the reward tiers, I think you're doing artwork for it, aren't you? For the
I'm donating all the pages for the first issue. So if you like original art, I'm donating all the pages. Roland asked me, he's like, "Do you want to donate the pages?" I'm like, "Dude, I have so many pages from Godlings, which is 300 pages laying around. I don't need more artwork." I'm like, "Yeah, you can have it all. I don't care."
Take it.
I don't need it.
Wait, you didn't ask me first? Dang, dude, that's cold.
Yeah.
What did you want them?
And Jose being your number one and all, man.
Yeah.
Right?
If you want to buy them, I'll go for it.
I see my stock dropping.
Yep.
Should I mention that he asked me if I wanted any before he did?
What? Well, Jose, won't you give us your socials real quick? Where can people find you?
Facebook and Instagram, and I don't like Twitter, and I have to make sure I say that. But that's pretty much Facebook and Instagram. It's Jose A. Fuentes Art.
Same here. My name, Quentin Bedwell, Quentin J. Bedwell, Facebook, Instagram. I have DeviantArt and all these other things. But yeah, That's where you can find me. Just Quentin J. Bedwell. You can look it up online. You can Google it or go on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll be there. Mackenzie?
And then mine's pretty much the same, just Mackenzie K. Wortman across all the social platforms, and find a lot at my website, www.mackenziekwortman.com, and my username is Wortman25.
And what's your password? What's your
Try sneaky there. She almost fell for it.
Yeah,
right.
Aaron, where can people find you at?
Well, they can find me. Another thing, Aaron Humphrey illustration is written on there at Big Cartel. That's my store, or you can find me losethebigcartel.com. That's my portfolio site or my artwork site. Facebook under Humphrey's illustration. Instagram, I try to make it all just spell my last name with an RES at the end, and you're good to go. So it's pretty unique.
Big Cartel.
That's apparently the name of the store. The name of the store is the Big Cartel. It's what they.
That sounds a little ominous.
Yeah,
it is. If you don't buy something from him, he's gonna send people.
Yeah, I'm gonna send people.
Big Cartel.
I'm Quentin J. Bedwell. You can find me at the Murder House.
That's where I can find you. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we're out of here. So everyone, make mine Silverline.
Make mine Silverline. Bye, everybody.
Night.
And don't forget to go ahead and